I don't know if you saw Four Corners last night on the ABC. It was raising issues again about the exploitation of migrant workers who are in this country on 457 visas. It showed how major retailers, our supermarket chains, are turning a blind eye to the exploitation of these young migrants, and they're obtained through cheap labour hire companies in the supply chain, and they're basically exploited. The Transport Workers Union is calling for migrant workers to have mandatory access to union representatives to ensure that they are not exploited in the same way. And I'm joined now by Tim Dawson, who's the State Branch Secretary for the TWU. Good afternoon, Tim.
Yeah, how you going, Adam?
Good, thank you. Now, this could be seen as a pitch for new members for your union. Can I be as cynical as to say that?
I can always be cynical if you want, Adam. I mean, you're a journalist, mate. But, no, look, mate, we're calling for, these people to be able to speak to anyone that can explain to them the industrial laws, and we're saying that, we're the appropriate people to do that. Now, at the end of the day, if they decide to join the union, they can decide to join the union, but I think unions should have an opportunity to speak to them and explain what the laws of Australia are, and hopefully stop them being exploited.
How many of these migrant workers end up as union members?
Look, I couldn't tell you that, mate. Probably not a lot of them, really. I mean, you only got to look at how they've been exploited. You can tell they're not union members by the way they've been exploited, as even Australians that don't join unions are usually getting exploited.
So could it be said that the retailers are in fact sort of de-unionising the workplace by bringing in these 457 visa holders in addition to the attrition we're already seeing in union membership?
Well, not only the retailers, it's the government, mate. I mean, the federal government are doing this. I mean, the federal government needs to do something about it. We're calling for state and federal governments to urgently do something about it, have an inquiry into it. If Four Corners can go out there and find these people as easily as they did, then surely the governments, through the Fair Work Commission, can go out there and, investigate this. I mean, something needs to be done. I mean, we've got young people out there being exploited, young girls who have been exploited, so that they can get extra visas for an extra year. I mean, it's shocking at what's happening.
Yeah, that's right. And you've done some Freedom of Information searches, and you found that 1 in 5 employers have breached salary and occupation rules for their 457 visa workers.
Yeah, that's right. We our national office done some Freedom of Information and found that 1 in 5 have been exploited, contrary to what the government's been saying. They're saying there's no problems with 457. It's not just our union that have been voicing our concerns about it. There's been many other unions over the last several years have voiced our concerns about what's happening with 457. All it was doing is undermining, Australian wages and conditions. And the retailers, Coles, retailers like that, who are out there, not only just in that area, but what they do to transport by squeezing truck drivers and forcing them to work long hours and, take risks out on the road. I mean, it is not just 457s that these retailers want to exploit.
Yeah, apparently you're claiming that there have been hundreds of concerns on these 457 visas raised with the Fair Work Ombudsman in 2014, but only 28 employers have been issued with any infringement notices in that period, and no employers were penalised in the Federal Magistrates Court.
Yeah, you got to wonder what's going on, don't you?
Why? Why do you think that is?
Well, because they've been protected by the government. I mean, they're easy to go out there, have royal commissions into unions and attack unions, but at the end of the day, what are they doing about this, about young people being, Four Corners where they've been sexually exploited, and, people they're paid, less than minimum wages, the way that they've been treated. I mean, imagine if that was our children out there doing that. What would the Australian public be paying them?
Yeah, this is only going to get tighter and more difficult for you as the economy, slows down and so forth, and hard economic times ensue. How do you go about speaking to these workers and trying to show them that they have some rights and alternatives to what they're currently putting up with?
Well, it is difficult. I mean, they're threatened if they talk to anyone in authority or unions that, they'll lose their jobs. They're and they're threatened that they'll lose their 457s and they'll be sent out of the country, back to where they come from. They come out, backpackers, and they come out here for a bit of a holiday and have a bit of fun, or other people, come from economies that are worse than what it is in Australia, not that the Liberal Party's making this country much better at the moment, but, doing what they're doing, and they're threatened. I mean, what we're saying, it should be mandatory that when they come out here in a 457, that they speak to some organisation that can explain to them, what the benefits you get in Australia, about what Fair Work Commission means, what awards mean, and what decent pay means. I mean, that's all we're asking for.
Yeah, you'd think in these hard economic times it would be the perfect time for unions to actually make their presence felt in the workplace. What's happening to your membership in the last year or two? What are the numbers looking like?
Yeah, well, mate, our membership has, stayed around about where it has for the last few years. I mean, our membership's holding up well, at the TWU, that's for sure.
Okay, well, here's an opportunity for people on these 457 visas to get some representation. Are they making contact? Have you had any calls since yesterday?
Look, I can't say we've had any calls since yesterday, but, our phones are there for people to call us if they've been exploited. Not just 457s, anyone that's been exploited. But that goes for every union, not just Transport Workers Union. I mean, people out there that have been exploited should be calling their relevant unions, and and we'll go out there and we'll have a good fight for them, mate.
Okay, well, thanks for your time, Tim.
No, thanks, Adam.
That's Tim Dawson, the State Secretary for the Transport Workers Union. Does this affect your view of the major retailers, the fact that they may be exploiting these 457 visa workers from overseas? The program portrayed a situation of virtually slave-like conditions, and obviously the union is hoping to jump in there and represent these members. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this matter. 922 11882. It's 12 minutes past 4.